So talk about this. Let's open this idea up a little bit about what the heck sex is. So sex is not just intercourse. Let's start with the basics. That's one way, but just about anything can be erogenous, can be sexy. I mean, maybe a good definition of sex is something that the way most of us mean it is an aesthetic pursuit, and yes, aesthetic in that it comes through the senses, but also aesthetic in that it has its own power. It exists for its own sake. You might say sex is certainly intercourse, maybe for procreation purposes. Though some of you may feel that way, that's okay. But even when it's a means to an end, there's still something pretty majestic about the act itself. And it seems to have a power all its own, for its own sake. So even if we're not reproducing, there's something in this for its own sake. It's a way of being alive in its own way. So that does not, again, that's not just a matter of penetration. That's not a matter of just men and women together, of course. This can be, we can define this for ourselves, what constitutes sex. Just about anything could constitute sex, as far as I can tell. I mean, as far as I've seen now in the world, it's not just an idea. It might be interesting if our conversation chips into fetish, how that plays in here. What the heck is fetish? I'm not sure I know the answer, but anyway, we can go there. But all to say where I'm heading here in this commentary is that underneath all that, whatever all that is, I think much of the power of sex is this primal connection. Okay, and it's important to name that because even when sex is out of reach, no matter how much we try or how inventive we get, there may be times where sex, the idea of it is largely out of reach for us, or maybe we just not want it. Reminds me of a story that when researching our book, A Beginner's Guide to the End, we came upon a story about a man in the VA, and he and his wife were in therapy, and he could no longer have sex anymore in the classical way. He could no longer get an erection, and he was terribly ashamed of all this, and he was acting out, and finally they were in the therapy together in the couple, and he sort of opened this up and let out that he could no longer have sex and felt terrible about it and just felt terrible about it. And the therapist turned to the wife, and the wife said, that frankly it was a relief at this stage in the relationship. That wasn't really what she was interested in anyway. It was a relief to let go of that notion of sex and to open up other notions of intimacy. So just to say, there's all sorts of a world waiting for us beyond conventional sex, and underneath it, I think what we're all yearning for is this connection. A way to feel alive is to be connected to something else, and it doesn't have to be another person. I don't mean, I don't mean this in a grotesque way, but we can be connected sensually, if not sexually, to trees, to plants, to animals. We can feel this bond between us. Whether that converts into something erotic for us, I'll leave that to each of you to say. But so even if sex is out of reach, connection may not be. And the story that leaps to mind for me here on this one is a man who was a patient of mine, who years ago in clinic at UCSF, and he was a famous curmudgeon. Doesn't even do it justice. I mean, people just loathed this man. It was stunning. Every time he'd come to clinic, there would be 1,000 apologies that I'd need to make in his wake. He would be rude to other people, to staff. He didn't think he was being, but that's how he came off in so many ways to so many people, etc. This man was so alone, and he kind of liked it that way. And as we got to know each other and he felt safe, he started sharing with me we talked about connection and intimacy. And he shared with me photographs he takes. And he had a habit of walking the San Francisco streets late at night, just with him and his camera, and he would take pictures of things, of people, of stuff. And the photographs were incredibly intimate. And we brought him to clinic and we were looking at them. And I realized that I was trying to sort of shore up this man who was so alone because people just didn't like him. But you know what? He was okay with that. He was finding his connection through his camera. The photographs were so gorgeous, so sensitive in ways that he didn't seem to be otherwise. So a whole world opened up through his photography as a way to understand him, but for a way for him to feel connected to the world as a point. I guarantee you this man was not having sex in the way most of us would mean it, but he was connecting, and that was plenty for him. So Each of us find our way. Don't give up this notion of sexiness, of sexuality, of sensuality, ever maybe.